Mortgage rates declined in the last week, but remain near 7%. Elevated rates have kept buyers out of the market. Pending home sales, they fell to their lowest level ever. Lawrence Yun, National Association of Realtors chief economist, saying, quote, "It's evidence that elevated home prices and higher mortgage rates strained affordability." So, how can buyers navigate this market? Joining me now is Rogers Healy. He is the owner and CEO of the Rogers Healy Companies. Good to have you here with us. So let's start with that very question. How can buyers navigate the affordability crisis as it's been really regarded among some of the economists tracking this industry?
Yeah, I hate to be a broken record, but the same way they've been navigating it really since COVID. And I think you got to have a strike quick mentality, not to go Cobra Kai on you, but yeah, you got to be ready. And I think that, the irony is you just said interest rates have dipped below 7%, which is still kind of high compared to where it was 4 or 5 years ago, but it just proves that the market is still busy. And I know Lawrence said that, the pending home sales were down in January, but guess what? That's January. It's usually pretty slow in January. People are coming off the holidays. They don't want to spend a bunch of money. And they're gearing up. You mentioned hoodie and sweater weather. They're gearing up for the spring. And that's usually when it becomes mayhem, whether you're in New York City, Dallas, or in middle America. So, yeah, it's kind of the same thing that we've seen the last few years, but maybe it's starting to level out just a little bit, which frankly is a great thing.
As we were looking through the rates that were published by Freddie Mac here, they also, with their chief economist, had put out a statement saying the mortgage rates decreased to their lowest level in over 2 months. If you're a buyer that's hearing that going into weekend buying, where can you kind of assess the market and find the best deals as well?
Yeah, and again, it's a catch-22. I've always been a fan of buying a house because it makes sense for you right now. Rarely is there a forever home. There's forever relationships, right? And that's what you need to capitalize on. But, if you find something that feels right, jump on it. And in most states like Texas, you have a diligence period where you can actually make sure it checks out across the board. But yeah, I think the definition of a good deal has shifted dramatically. We have 72.5 million millennials in the U.S. They're the largest generation of people in our country. They're the largest pocket of buyers. And they're going to make it more and more difficult to try to get, real money off. So find something that feels great, and that's going to be a great deal, I think, for the next 10 or 15 years.
What ways are you seeing buyers get creative in this competitive market then?
I think the most important thing, honestly, is to be realistic. Have an agent that actually knows what they're doing. They're representing you. They're not an Instagram influencer. They're actually an educated agent that knows what they're doing. Get pre-approved. If you're paying cash, have your financials in store. But just be ready to act, and I think that the dream home thing is honestly, it's a myth. And you can kind of make any home your dream home for the short term as long as you've got the right context. So yeah, find somebody who has resources, that knows what they're doing. And when you get that feeling, maybe sleeping on it is a nap and not an actual real night's sleep. And by that opportunity, you can actually see if it's yours to purchase.
So for shoppers that are going out this weekend, what tips do you have for those who are house hunting? And of course, we're a few weeks out from the real pivot to the spring buying season.
Yeah, I think, again, just trust your gut. And investing, your home is usually your biggest investment of your life. And I think among everything that can be defined with investing, it's really a gut instinct. And if you walk in and you feel like you could make it your home, then do it. Go for it. And ask for, real advice, real suggestions. And if it doesn't have the perfect color door and maybe you want different hardwood colors, have somebody help you with that, right? And I think some people talk themselves out of big decisions, and frankly, they regret it later. So yes, start looking, hire somebody that knows what they're doing, be resourceful, but also just be realistic and realize that it is an investment. Statistically, before COVID, people would live in their house for 5 to 7 years. That's changed, and that's changed in large part because of what we started with, 6.85% interest rates. When those things dip down, people are going to want to stack chips and level up. So I think we've seen, at the very beginning of some very, very busy cycles for the next 10 to 15 years.
What's the first DIY project that you often hear that potential buyers are thinking about starting once they finally get into that new home?
Simple stuff, right? The two main attractions of a home have always been the kitchen and the master bedroom / bathroom. So stuff that's very simple, countertops, paint, wood colors, all that kind of stuff is always going to be something that reminds them of where they're moving from, which is probably a rental, but they're moving for a reason. So yeah, stuff that's simple. I think that, adding on square footage is always a great idea. It's a great way to make money, but that's expensive, it's time consuming, and it's not normally that much fun. So yeah, I think that the beautiful version of lipstick on the pig is always a great idea,
Rogers.
especially if it's Peppa Pig.
Yeah. Rogers, thanks so much for taking the time here with us today. Appreciate it.
Cheers.